Hey folks, welcome back to the Portable Gamer, welcome back to Farming Simulator 17, and welcome back to Dolnośląska. It's Poland. So, we're going to do, I don't know what we're going to do today. Well, let's do something. Let's do something today. This is field 10, is it not? Or 21. You know, same. Got all the potatoes out. Oh, man. Potatoes. I don't know how I feel about potatoes. Well, I take that back. I know exactly how I feel about them. I really don't like them. And, I don't know. I mean, we made some money. Not a lot. We made a little bit. Rocks in the field in Poland. Give me a break with the realism. Right, so we have to put this one over here. And they spawn back onto the map. Right, like once you move them. Next time we spawn, next time we start a game, these will be back in here. And there's another one, I know because I hit it. Yes, there it is. Right. So all our potatoes are out. I did spray a load of pellet fert on this field. So it is ready to be cultivated, and then I'm going to plant oilseed radish in it to stabilize it over the winter. That's my new thing. I'm putting a lot of cover crops in. Didn't used to do that. Now I'm doing it all the time. So that is our next step. We've got our Agromaz cultivator on the MB track, and we're going to get that going, and then I'm going to show you a couple other things, and then we will get started. We'll do a little bit of grass work today. Not a ton, but we'll do a little bit, because we're doing grass work on Coldborough Park as well. But what can you do, man? It's fall. You got to do grass. Although technically it is late summer. Good grief, that is a loud tractor. Right, so we're going to lift this up. No. Although, I guess, yeah, we can lift that up. We can get the tail lights up out of the way. We're going to lift that up. There we go. And we're going to unfold it, which is really not, you know, that's cool. There's really not a lot to it when you unfold it. And this is a, what, a 6 meter? 6 meter? 4 meter. 4 meter implement. Let's make our turn here. Let's make our turn here. Oh my goodness. Oh, more realistic. What are we on, a hill or something? What's going on? There it is. There it is. I knew our MB track had enough power to get over a small bump. Right. Let's take this right over here. Yeah. We'll put it on course play. And we'll just let it run while we do some grass work. Right. So put it right in here. Set the brake. Course play, field 21. We're going to do field work. Is that right? Field work. Field 21. Right up in here. Past it. It is 4 meter. So right there. We're going to do... let's do 3 headlands. We'll do those after. We don't have any islands. There we go. Where do we start? Looks like it's offset. Is that offset? There's no offset. Come on, man. What kind of outfit you running here? No offset. No offset, I said. So we go back here. Get rid of that. Put back in field 21. Generate another course. Still looks a little offset to me. Alright. Alright, I'll chance it. I don't know, that looks wrong. That looks, you know what I'm saying? That looks not so good. We'll let it run a few cycles and see, but you see what I'm saying? In the... Yeah. Alright. So what's going on? It's Monday for me. You're going to see this on Tuesday. I want to talk about gaming. I always talk about gaming, but I've had some interesting observations in the past couple days. I want to run them past you, see what you think. So let's get this going. And our start point will be right about here. Try not to back up onto our neighbor's field too much. Not too much. Oh, that gearbox. I love it. All right. So we're going to turn this off. We'll go from our first waypoint, right, of course. And it is going to fold that up, and then it will unfold it. We don't have... Yeah, we don't have any offset. Okay, we better not. No offset there. No offset there. No offset there. No offset there. Okay. Right, let's let this run a little bit and confirm that we don't have an offset, and then we're good to go. So here's what's going on. Here's what's going on. I realized I've been watching people play an RPG on YouTube. An RPG that I thought about buying but did not buy. The Division 2, you know this. I've been watching people play it. And I'm struck by something. And what I'm struck by is the fact that when I play a video game, I play it for real. And I've touched on this briefly in previous videos, but we're going to get into it a little bit more today. I play it for real. I don't, like right now, I don't really think that I'm farming, and I'm not taking it that seriously. Hopefully I'm having fun. But my goal is realism. And as sim gamers, that's what we're into, is we're into realism. Good grief. Is he going to back up all the way across this field? Potentially. As sim gamers, we try to play realistically. That's our thing. That's what we're known for. Now, RPG gamers think sim gamers are idiots, right? They think we don't have any fun, that we take the game way too seriously, and that we suck at RPG games, and that's why we play sim games, because they're easy. Well, to be fair, you know, there's some truth to that, because these games are easy in that you can't get killed, you can't get blown up. You know, failing in farm sim is to not run a profitable farm. Or, from another perspective, failing in farm sim is to not play realistically. So yeah, RPG gamers think we're idiots that we play these games. How boring, how stupid. So one of the controversies in Division 1 was the Dark Zone. I don't know if you're familiar with this at all, but the Dark Zone was this lawless area that was supposed to be like hardcore PvP. Well, here's a problem with RPG games and loot-based games and skill-building games and various other things. And the problem with them is the more you play, the more loot you get, the stronger your build is. And then on top of that, virtually every RPG game has a meta build or a min-max build, which is simply the best combo in the game, and it doesn't take long for people to play the game a lot to find it, and then everybody starts running that build. And then on top of that, you have, they're not really hacks, but like in the Division, it's called the chicken dance. If you're in the DZ and you get one of these griefers, they're impossible to kill because they're wearing an overpowered build. They're running an overpowered build, they're wearing overpowered gear, and they know how to do the chicken dance. And that's assuming that they're not cheating. They may have a lag switch, although Ubisoft says they prevent that. They may have a lag switch, and they also may have aimbot and various other things. So the take from that side of it is, well, you can't compete in these kinds of games, and that's why you play sim games. But from another perspective, a lot of what's going on in a place like the Dark Zone in the Division is either outright cheating or just griefing. And the thing about that, you know, what I was saying earlier about, you know, if you don't have that offset is good. If you don't have that overpowered build, you can't play. And griefers say, well, first off, griefers never think of themselves as griefers. Some do, most don't. And griefers say, well, then play the game more, right? Or the classic, get good. The reason you don't enjoy this is because you suck. Get good, and then you'll enjoy it more. Not always the case, particularly if people are cheating. But even so, having been in the Dark Zone myself, I can tell you it's no fun fighting somebody who's running an OP set, because I like realistic tactical gameplay. In fairness, The Division is not a tactical game, it's an RPG game. But I like more tactical, sort of focused gameplay. And seeing somebody bouncing back and forth doing the chicken dance, to me, is just unrealistic. And then that gets into that, we'd call it conflict. We'd call it conflict between sim gamers and other types of gamers, where they're coming back at us like, realistic? What's wrong with you? You're playing a stupid game. You think this is real? Why would you want to play realistically? Why not just have fun? And then the next realization from there is that fun for these folks is griefing. Well, okay. And we just go round and round. So I think that's the problem with any game is, you know, how do you make it accessible? Oh, wrong button. There we go. How do you make it accessible? How do you make it fun for everybody? And they have sorted some things out in The Division 2, but off topic, while we're doing our thing here, I did swap out on Coldborough Park, I did swap out our Krona swathing mowers for the Kuhn mowers. And so on this map, we're now going to run the Pottinger mowers, which the Krona mowers are based on, right, with the belts. And because we'd be running the same mowers on two maps, even though they had different skins on them, but because we're on different mowers on Coldborough Park now, we can run these mowers here. Did that make sense? Possibly. Here we go. So, you know, I'm a... no. So, you know, I'm seeing in a video that I'm watching... moment. I believe it's Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'm seeing the effort that Square Enix put into making the game accessible. And then simultaneously, I'm seeing in The Division 2, griefers and PvP players are saying, you're ruining my good time. This is something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy ganking people with an overpowered build. Right? Like, they're running an overpowered build and they wear it when they gank people, and that's fun for them, and you're ruining my good time by accommodating what they call the Care Bears, which you and I might call serious players, but PvPers call them Care Bears. And it's interesting to me that Ubisoft tried to make the game, in my opinion, accessible to everybody. They tried to make it fun for people who do want to PvP, but don't necessarily want to get just melted over and over and over and over again. And they also tried to make an area that is still reserved for people that want that sort of chicken dance, meta build, right? Griefer's Paradise. And that's got to be tough to do because there's so many different ways that people game. I don't even know how you would approach that, you know? And thinking about sim gaming and how we play, I guess the takeaway for me and what I'm trying to figure out is, what do you owe a video game? And I think there are a lot of people that are still coming at video gaming, I mean both players and developers. I think there are a lot of people that are still coming at video gaming from almost a nostalgic perspective. And their perspective is, I just want to play a video game and have some fun. I don't necessarily want to work at it. I know I've done long races in race sims, and it's not fun. It's exhausting. It is mentally exhausting to try to focus on just essentially running perfect laps, or as perfect as you can. I know we're not lifting our mowers as we drive over our swath. You would never do that in real life. I got two hands on my gamepad and I can't get up to my keyboard to do a Control V. So it's satisfying, but it's not necessarily fun. And you know, the thing that makes anything feel good, and this is in real life now, this is not in gaming, this is anywhere. I mean, it includes gaming, but it's anywhere in real life. If something happens that makes you release dopamine in your brain, that feels good, and that is what we could call fun, right? It makes you happy, or it makes you feel good. Well, it's different for everybody. And driving a long race, I know people that the idea of sitting in a chair for 90 minutes, driving lap after lap after lap, knowing that if you're even half a second off on any given lap, you're going to get passed. And if you do that, it doesn't even have to be 3 or 4 laps in a row. If you do that 3 or 4 laps at all, like over the course of a race, you'll just gradually go from second to third to fifth to 10th to last, right? By losing half a second per lap. I think for a lot of people, that's not fun, right? That's not relaxing. That's not fun, I just want to play Wreckfest, or Dirt Rally with the damage turned off, or whatever it is that they want to do. But they don't want that intensity of experience. But for some gamers, and for me, I enjoy that. Playing a realistic farm sim, I enjoy that. A lot of people don't. So, regardless of how you play, when a game feels good to you, when a game makes you happy, you're releasing dopamine. And for people like us that play realistic sim games, the idea of trolling or griefing, which you see in sim gaming, you see griefers on ETS servers. You see griefers sneak into multiplayer farms, multiplayer maps in Farm Sim. There are griefers in these sims. And I guess not the ultimate question, but something that really kind of shook me is I've always thought griefers and trolls were just assholes, right? I think they sort of think they're assholes too. But here's the interesting thought that kind of rocked me back on my heels. It kind of stunned me. This is what I realized. They bought that game the same as me, and they have every right to enjoy it the way that they want to. That's a very interesting realization. That really, you know what I'm saying? That really hit me. Because that's real talk. I paid my $100. I get to enjoy this game any way I want. And if how I enjoy this game is griefing people who don't even want a PvP, who are just looking to hunt some gear, they have every right to do that. And that really, I had to sit down and think about that for a minute, and now we're getting into sort of the core of libertarianism. And I'm not, I don't talk about politics on my channel, but I think we have to recognize that politics is actually something that exists in the real world. Your political beliefs are real. And libertarianism basically says anybody can do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting anybody. And I completely agree with that. Although I'm not what you would necessarily describe as a libertarian, I do lean in that direction. And I certainly see the logic of that and the value of that. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you do whatever you want. But here's the problem with libertarianism, and here's the problem with every political party and every political affiliation and every political belief. Everything that anybody does affects other people somehow. In some way, big or small, it always does. So when griefers and trolls who know that they are griefers and trolls say, hey, you know what, man, I have every right to play this game the way I want, the same as you do. That is an extremely valid point. And a counter to that is you have every right to play this game the way you want as long as you're not interfering with anybody, as long as you're not ruining anybody else's good time. That is also a valid point. But then the response back to that is, oh yeah? Well, the Care Bears are ruining my good time. And that's also a valid perspective. So now what do you do? And I think Ubisoft has found kind of an elegant solution to that, in that there's essentially a tiered system in the Division 2 where everybody can go to a place that is more or less built just for them. Not entirely, not perfectly, but they at least made the effort. And I think casual players are pretty pleased with it. But the griefers and the trolls are not. And the reason is because by creating these different zones where different people can go to do different things, Ubisoft has eliminated or done away with the possibility that people will have to go to an extremely dangerous area to farm good gear, and that extremely dangerous area was where they themselves got farmed by griefers, right? It was a bit of a circular economy. And if you're not into RPG, you might not know what I'm talking about. If that's the case, I apologize, but in an RPG, there's loot all over the map. The harder it is to get that loot, the better it will be when you get it. So people farm loot. They just kind of do the same thing over and over, hoping that the piece of gear that they're waiting for will drop. Well, and you know what? I'll stop calling them griefers, because that's not a fair term. That's not fair to them. Let's call them PvPers. The PvPers essentially would just wait for these loot farmers to go to a dangerous area, let them, right? The PvPers would let the farmers do the work for them and get all the drops, get all the gear, and then they would just kill them and take it. And you know, I'm told that the Dark Zone in the Division 1, I'm told that it was a social experiment. And from a certain perspective, it certainly makes sense that it could have been. Because that's sort of how real life is. And that's something else that I think about. Now, keep in mind as I say this, that I am a perfect target for trolls and griefers. Because I play games seriously, I take them seriously, and I'm autistic. I have two things working in my favor when it comes to bullies. One thing is, gaming is not my life. And I could just as easily turn this off and go do something else. And the other thing is, in real life, I don't get bullied. I'm not a person that people bother. People tend to leave me alone. Which is not to say that I'm like some big scary person, although I sort of am. But there are bullies, and then there are people that actually like to fight. And there's a difference between the two. People that actually like to fight don't care about getting hurt, they don't care about getting killed, they don't care about getting beat up, and they don't care about going to jail. And those people, for the most part, tend to fight each other because that's more fun. They don't want to bully people. They don't want to just beat up random strangers. They want to fight because they got a loose wire. Bullies, for the most part, in my experience, like to mess with people that can't do anything. And I think that's the core of if you want to understand what griefing is, I think it's too easy to write it off as bullying people. You know, attacking somebody in a video game who doesn't even want to fight can look, from one perspective, that can look a lot like bullying. And it's hard to imagine somebody would just think that's good fun. Because we don't think that's good fun. Anybody who does think it's good fun, well, that person must just be a bully. And in some cases they are. In some cases they are. But in a lot of cases they're not. They're just having fun. They're just having fun. So I don't want to say that every person who is an aggressive PvP player is a bully. I don't know that, for one thing. And even if it is, yeah, it's, so what? It's none of my business. But I can tell you that from my perspective, as a video gamer, I am a perfect target for griefers because I play seriously. And I'm fun to mess with in video games. But as I said, I could just kind of walk away from it. And that's something that developers, I think, have to come to terms with, because I don't know that it's a symbiotic relationship. It's like PvP players need victims. That's what makes the game fun for them. But victims don't necessarily need PvP players, because PvP players make the game not fun for them. So a company like Ubisoft has to figure out, who do we make the most money from? Now, ideally, they get to make money from both those groups, because a company like Ubisoft wants to make money from everybody. But it's like, if they had to pick, what group would they go with? And I suspect they would go with the casual gamer. I think most people, certainly most adults, game, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week. When you when you see, you know, somebody's stats on Steam or something that, you know, they've spent 4,000 hours in a year gaming, that is not a typical gamer. And that is not, you know, if you're looking at a bell curve of your target audience, you don't focus on the ends. And somebody who plays video games 4,000 hours a year is definitely the end. So I feel companies like Ubisoft have to decide, they have to realize, like, who do we make the most money from? But at the same time, let's not sanitize these games and turn them into sandboxes. And at the same time, let's not make them so miserable for casual gamers that they lose interest. And at the same time, right? You see what I'm saying? And you end up with like 10 agendas. And trying to balance them has got to be, that's got to be a handful, man. That really does. So I think, you know, I don't want to dismiss anybody who is an aggressive PvP player in gaming. I don't want to automatically dismiss that person as a griefer and a troll. I also don't like being dismissed by that type of personality as a person who plays sim games because I can't get good. I don't think I will ever, I know I won't ever, for the sake of this conversation, we'll call it the chicken dance. I don't think I will ever. I know I will never be the kind of player that does the chicken dance just to take a piece of gear from somebody. I know I've played skirmish in the division, and I didn't do great. You know, my team typically lost, but it's like first team to 21 or first team to 13 or something. And, you know, we were within a point or two of winning. So let's say you played to 11. You know, we lost 9-11 over and over, but we did get 9 points. We didn't get blown out every time. But I'm not the best skirmish player. I'm probably not the best player at all. But I'm not going to, hang on, turn on my silage additive. Is it on? Turn on Z. It doesn't matter whether I'm the best player or not. At any game, I'm not going to cheat the game because that's just not how I play. I play realistically as I can. So I'm willing to see the perspective of aggressive PvP players, players that could be categorized as griefers or trolls. I am more than willing to see their perspective. And like I said, the core, I think, of it for me is they paid for that game just like I did, and they have every right to enjoy it any way they want. I'm willing to see their perspective. I hope they are willing to see my perspective. And then we'll just kind of meet in the middle on this. I don't do any multiplayer. There we go. I don't do any multiplayer farm sim anymore. I've tried it a few times. Too many trolls. I don't do multiplayer ETS. Too many trolls. Too many just bad drivers. I think there are people that are intentionally messing shit up, and I think there are other people that are doing their best to drive well, and they're just really not very good drivers. And Europort, way too crowded. So in my sim games, the only multiplayer that I'm into in sim gaming is driving, iRacing, which I'll be back into in just a few days, and the Division. That's the only multiplayer RPG I've ever played. And I do enjoy it. I enjoy the co-op. For the record, since the Division 2 dropped last week, Division 1 is like a ghost town. There's nobody in there anymore. It's okay, single player, but it's definitely a lot more fun multiplayer. But it's no fun dealing with aggressive PvP players. So I hope game developers continue to try to find a way to sort this out for everybody, because you know, I realize at this point I'm repeating myself, but yeah, man, you bought the game. Let's all, you know, try to find a way to play together. And I guess where it collapses is realizing that that type of personality, that aggressive PvP personality, enjoys the fact that we would want to have that conversation and they could laugh at us as much as they enjoy any other type of briefing. So, does that make sense? You know, like the the kind of player that would I can't even tell you how many times I've seen this happen. Kind of player that you can help them out, like they're getting attacked by NPCs and you help them out. You bail them out of a crack, right? And things calm down a bit, and then they just go rogue and kill you. And they think that's hilarious. Like, that's the same kind of personality that would ask you to tell them your thoughts on making gaming accessible for different kinds of players on the same server at the same time, and you would tell them, and then they would just laugh at you for falling for it, right? It's like the kind of personality that says, hey, what? And you say, what? And they say, guess what? And laugh in your face. So, regardless, you know, like I was saying earlier, I'm the perfect target for trolls because I actually take things seriously, and I think half the fun of trolling is not taking things seriously. So, from my perspective, I think we found a solution, and I hope developers keep working with it. And if anybody else thinks that's silly, that's cool. It's your right to think that, but hopefully I'll see you down the road a ways and we can both enjoy ourselves on the same server. There you go. That's my take. That's my hot take on gaming for today. I'm gonna let the MB track work. I'm gonna have a little bit of lunch here in real life. Gonna have a sandwich and a cup of coffee. And that's all I got. Let's wrap it up. 31 minutes. Perfect, folks. Thanks for stopping back to check out the Portable Gamer. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Farming Simulator 17 from Dolnośląska Wieś, Poland. We'll see you next time. Take care now.